Welcome to part 2 of the Kirisun DP770 review. In this video I'll be talking about my experiences with the radio in the week that I spent testing it, and I'll also be showing it working on the DMR Mark network compared to the Motorola DP3400. This radio was supplied for the review by Radio Distribution Limited, who are now selling this radio in the UK. There is a link to their website in the description of the video. I've tested this radio out, and now I'm going to be telling you about what I found during my testing. First, I'll start with the screen. The screen is very nice. It works well in bright daylight. As you saw earlier, it can go very bright if you need it to. The screen on the DMR radio is a must-have if you want to take advantage of any of the advanced features of DMR, like messaging, radio check, remote monitor. In terms of interoperability with other DMR radios, the radio works well with other DMR radios and on repeaters, although the encryption doesn't work properly with Motorola enhanced encryption on the Motorola DMR radios. It works absolutely fine with no encryption. Not all features work, such as the messaging doesn't work with DMR radios, but I believe it works with Hytera radios, although the other functions like remote monitor and radio checks do work with Motorola radios. The battery life of the radio is very good. The radio comes with a 2000 mAh battery, which is a lot more than the Motorola DP3000 series came with. You can easily rely on this to last all day long. The programming software is refreshing to program a radio from a manufacturer that doesn't see you as a cash cow. I always think that Motorola sees its users as cash cows because they charge you for extra features that the radio is already capable of, which are just software upgrades. These radios don't have any software upgrades that you have to pay for. The firmware updates are free, and the programming software comes with the radio. An example of one of the things that you have to pay for on the Motorola radios is 256-bit AES encryption. These have that included. The radio, of course, also works on the DMR Mark network, so if you're an amateur and you're interested in using this radio, then it will work on your local DMR Mark repeater. Kirisun states that this radio is IP67 water and dust proof, which means you should be able to put it underwater. I didn't test this, but I did use it in rain and it had no problems at all. The audio from the radio speaker is nice and clear. I often found it sounded nicer than the Motorola. I've got a video to show that actually, which I'll show you in a moment. The weight of the Kirisun radio is nice. It feels solid in the hand, but it doesn't feel excessively heavy. I always thought that the Motorola DP3400 radios felt excessively heavy. So those were the good points about the radio. There are a few minor negative points. One of which is the programming software doesn't work with Windows 8, which for me is a big problem because my main computer is Windows 8. So to program these radios I had to get out a really old and slow Windows XP desktop. Another negative point about the radios is that there's an annoying click whenever the speaker comes on and off. If I turn on one of the Motorola radios, I'll just use this one here. I'll show you what I mean. Listen to the speaker click when I key up the radio. 1, 2, test. Now this click is not really noticeable in loud environments, but if you're in a quiet room and you have the radio volume down quite low, this click is very loud. The Kirisun radio is also very slightly less sensitive, than the Motorola DP3000 series radios. This shouldn't be a problem most of the time, but if you're on the edge of coverage, then it might be a slight inconvenience. Another little glitch in the radio is that it stops the time when you turn it off. So if you have a look at the time on here, it thinks it's 7:43, and on this one it thinks it's 2:39 in the afternoon, and neither of them are correct because they've both stopped time when I turn them off. So most of those negative points could be fixed with firmware updates from Kirisun, which I hope they'll do, and I also hope they will make the programming software compatible with Windows 8. To sum up this review, I'm going to say that the Kirisun DP770 is a good radio, which is worth buying, and hopefully will be even better once Kirisun sort out the few bugs that remain. So here I've got the Motorola DP3400 and the Kirisun DP770. They're both on the same channel, which is the GB7NS repeater, which is a amateur DMR repeater, and this video demonstrates both the audio quality of the Kirisun, which I think is better than the Motorola, and the Motorola's sensitivity, which I think is slightly better than the Kirisun.
Maybe slow a little bit with the fog. There's going to be a safety margin, but just makes a difference. This one we had a few days earlier in the week when it was clear, so that kind of gets you used to it and enjoying it. But oh well, it's in Michigan and the weather changes all the time, so. We vacation in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan usually for a couple of weeks, a week or two, and as far as weather.
I see. Well, you asked me a few minutes ago what was exciting on HF. Well, I was last night on 17 meters, 145, I guess it was. Talking to a couple stations, very strong, 20, 30 over. And when I signed off with them, I heard a weak signal. I thought it was from Europe. No, it was a guy from New Jersey. But the guy was using just 3 watts. I said, what? He was calling me I don't recall his call sign. He said, okay, come over, let me hear you. He said, I'm with a Kirisun DP770, 3 watts, and a vertical antenna. I said, wow. It was doing the trip. Nice and clean. I put up 3 days ago a little dipole. It's off-center fed. Some people call them Wyndham. And the good thing is that my reception went down on noise. Same sensitivity like the regular dipole, but now I have much less noise. It allowed me to pick up weak stations like this one. So as soon as we finish, I did a recording. This K3 that I have has a built-in recorder, and you can play it back. The guy was surprised how well I heard him. Then I sent him the MP3 also, and he sent me an email. Very happy he was. So that was the story for last night, HF. Working over.
That's neat. Yeah, being able to work like that, QRP. Yeah, you mentioned the Carolina Wyndham. Yeah, I've got one of those. That's it works out well for me, at least because I've got only wire antennas up right now, and that's the only one I have up. And like the G5RV, it can be loaded on most bands. And the other thing is since one end of the antenna is tied off at the house and the other one's off in a tree someplace, being off-center fed makes it easier to